flips it up to him, and Bijan just one-handed catches it, pins it to like his lower back, kind of butt. Wasn't even looking. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I'm your host, Frank Rampin, and we're going to get into another week of the NFL season. So, week 5 has now been here, come and gone, and we're going to get into the crazy things that we saw over this weekend with one more game to go tonight. But before I get into that, you might be noticing I'm wearing a football jersey today. Special jersey for the special day that it is. Today is what? October 9th? Monday, October 9th? First Monday night football game of the season for the Las Vegas Raiders, the Oakland Raiders in my heart still. But we are playing the Green Bay Packers tonight, so special occasion. My favorite Raider of all time, Charles Woodson, went into the Hall of Fame as a Raider, just to let you know, that's a fact. Had to bring the jersey out today because obviously he played for both the Raiders and the Packers, but had to bring out the boy, Charles Woodson, my favorite Raider of all time. Had to touch one on that, so hopefully he's there today. I hope he lights the torch tonight. He should. Why would he not? But we'll find out. I'll tech back in after that game tonight. But we'll go into our weekly recap of Week 5. And it was a pretty interesting week. But, I mean, this was the first week in the NFL with buys. And to be honest, it felt weird. For me, I felt it. It was pretty weird. It felt like there wasn't as many games. Obviously, there wasn't as many games. Only a 12-game slate on Sunday, and it felt like it. I don't know if that was just me or, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? But I felt like kind of a slow day. The 1 o'clock window only had 6 games, and then there was 4 at 4 o'clock, so it was kind of a weird day. And I mean, honestly, a lot of the games were not amazing finishes, but still, great Sunday football, and gotta love sitting there watching 7 hours of commercial-free football every Sunday, just sitting there baking it in. But we're gonna get into our play of the day, and if you didn't see this came from one of the two. I had to pick between 2 games of the week here. This is the one I actually didn't choose, but kind of went into why I picked this play here. But in the Atlanta Falcons Houston Texans game in Atlanta, game ended up being a pretty solid affair. Talk about that in a little bit. Went down to the wire, but early on in the fourth quarter, we're going to pick it up here at 2nd and goal for Atlanta. Desmond Ridder is going to take the snap out of the shotgun. And he's going to feel a little pressure. He's going to shovel one to Bijan Robinson. You can't even really tell. And on first glance, this is just like a nice play by the quarterback. Quick, getting rid of it because the pocket's collapsing. Flips it up to Bijan, who just walks in for a touchdown. But you're going to see the replay here. Ridder flips it up to him, and Bijan just one-handed catches it, pins it to like his lower back, kind of butt. Wasn't even looking. He's looking at the people coming at him. He's just, look, I'm going to go back to this replay here. Look at this. Snag, he's already looking away. He's just putting it on his butt as he's looking at guys to try to juke him out. Like, Bijan Robinson has been extremely explosive in his first 4 games, and that was a very impressive play to watch in Week 5. So, didn't miss a beat for him. He played really well. He just makes insanely fast jukes. It doesn't look like he has to slow down his body at all when he's making a move, making a cut, changing speeds, anything. He's just, everything looks so quick twitch. It's crazy. Bijan Robinson has been unbelievable for the Atlanta Falcons this year. And that is our play of the day, the no-look butt catch, I guess you could call it that. And then we'll move into the game of the week segment. So, like I said, this was kind of a weird week for the NFL. Only 12 games on the NFL Sunday, 14 in total, because of Thursday night and Monday night. This game that I was just talking about, Atlanta and Houston, that was arguably the game of the week because that went down to the wire. Young Wei Koo had to make a game-winning field goal as time expired. We'll talk about that a little bit later because Desmond Ridder looked pretty impressive on that last-minute drive. But this game that I did pick for the game of the week was Ravens at Steelers, and it was just your typical AFC North slugfest, just defense galore. Offense couldn't really get anything going, and I mean, that's what you expect when you watch an AFC North football game. And we're going to jump right into it on the first drive of the game for Baltimore. They're inside the red zone here, and Lamar hands the ball off to Justice Hill, who's going to find a crease and make his way into the end zone for the first score of the game. And it will be 7-0 here for Baltimore. And as we continue to watch this game, points come at a premium here. So every score is very, very important. And we're going to jump ahead now to the next. After the Steelers do nothing with the ball, give the ball back to the Ravens, they move back inside the red zone inside the 5-yard line, 3rd and goal. Lamar surveys the field, looks left, and lofts one to Rashad Bateman in the back of the end zone, but it goes right in and out of his hands. Bad drop there from Rashad Bateman, who actually just came off the IL, first game from him. Wide open touchdown pass. Great throw from Lamar to loft it in between the safety and the corner. Great throw from him, but right through the hands. That's going to force Justin Tucker, who is arguably the best field goal kicker in the league, to come out to extend the Baltimore lead to 10-7. So 2 possessions for Baltimore. Should have been 2 touchdowns, but they're going to have to settle for 3 there. Moving on. Pittsburgh's offense, as you can see, we're going to go right to another Baltimore offensive possession. Pittsburgh's offense took a little bit to wake up here. Honestly, it took a long time to wake up. So 2nd and 10 for Baltimore. Lamar setting up a screen for Justice Hill. He makes the catch, makes a guy miss, running for a first down, but it's punched out from behind. Great hustle there by a D lineman from Pittsburgh. Pops out, and it's recovered by Pittsburgh. So the Pittsburgh defense comes up big for them as their offense was struggling. And this drive, they get the ball just outside Ravens territory, unable to punch the ball into the end zone, but this leads to 3 points, 10-3 ball game now. Next possession for the Ravens. After a bunch of back and forth possessions, this was a sloppy AFC North defensive battle. A lot of defense in this game. Back and forth affair. No one could really get anything going on offense, especially the Steelers. But we're going to jump ahead now to a 4th and 16 from their own 19-yard line for Baltimore. They're going to set up the punt. Pittsburgh's setting up to block it, and they get there. 4 Steelers bust through. One of them lays out, makes the block, and they reviewed this and determined that the ball went out of the back of the end zone before the Steelers player was able to recover it. So that would be a safety and not a touchdown. So the game is 10-5 now. Pretty unusual scoreline, but a 10-5 ball game here as the Steelers special teams come through to block a punt, goes out of the back of the end zone for a safety. And because it's a safety, the Steelers are going to get the ball back and are unable to punch it in, but they're able to kick another field goal to make it 10-8 now with about 7 minutes remaining to go in the ball game. And again, a very unconventional score, 10-8. Baltimore gets the ball back, but like I said, this is an AFC North game. They weren't able to do anything with it. So, Ravens punting here. Gunnar Olszewski catches it inside his own 20, runs to the left, ran into by his own player, ball pops out of his hand right into the hands of a Baltimore Raven. They return it inside the red zone, so another huge mistake by the Steelers. Special teams there. Last time they made a nice play, but this time Olszewski fumbles the punt return. Ravens pick it up inside the red zone, already going back in again. And on third and goal, from the 5-yard line, Lamar looks right, lofts to the end zone to Odell Beckham Jr., and he's intercepted in the end zone. So after the Ravens get the ball inside of the red zone of the Steelers, they are unable to capitalize as Lamar gets picked off in the end zone. Not ideal. So 3.5 minutes to go. Kenny Pickett trying to lead a drive to either kick a field goal to go up by 1 or score a touchdown. And this drive ended up really being the George Pickens drive as Pickett looked at Pickens' way almost every time here. He had 3 catches, leading us up here to a 2nd and 9 from the 42-yard line of the Ravens. Kenny Pickett's going to loft one down the right sideline for guess who? George Pickens again. He makes the catch in stride, breaks free into the end zone for the touchdown, making it a 4-point lead for Pittsburgh, 14-10. The ensuing 2-point conversion to make it a 6-point ball game to force Baltimore to score a touchdown and kick an extra point is no good. So 14-10 game. Next Baltimore possession. Lamar looking to throw, is strip sacked from behind, and guess who picks up the ball? TJ Watt. He's got it running the other way. Lamar is able to bring him down inside the 20-yard line, but that's just going to about do it, as the Steelers' defense came up huge in this game, as the offense really weren't able to get anything going except for one drive later in the game on the George Pickens touchdown. That was really it, and I guess that was all they needed, because this Steelers' defense and special teams really, except for the one Olszewski fumble, were able to complete this game. And with very bad time management for the Steelers, they actually had to kick a field goal to make it 17-10 and gave the Ravens another chance. But the defense came up again because TJ Watt gets a sack almost every possession that he's on the field because he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So Baltimore is able to hang on and win, or not Baltimore. The Pittsburgh is able to hold off Baltimore, and win the game 17-10 in your classic AFC North slugfest defensive battle. Absolutely crazy game. Every time I look over there, it was like it's 10-5. Like, what's going on? But that's the AFC North for you. That's what you're going to get. And big win for the Steelers, as now they have beaten the Browns and the Ravens so far. 2 of their 3 wins are in the division. So if you're going to win those games, those are the ones that are really important. We're going to move into the NFL standings update now, starting with the AFC East. This seems like it's going to be a very fun race. We're 5 weeks in. I know that's early, but it looks like the top of this division is going to be pretty interesting. The Dolphins, they just beat up on the New York Giants. But to be honest, I was expecting them to play a little bit better. Tua threw a couple picks to the Giants, and I was not really expecting that. But Devon Achane had another long touchdown run. Tyreek Hill had another long touchdown, like always. And Waddle got a little bit more into the action this week, which he hasn't really this year. Coming in second in the AFC East right now is the Buffalo Bills, who lost to Jacksonville in London. And the first half of that game, if you missed it, early wake up for those of us in the United States, the Bills did not look good on their first couple possessions. They really didn't. They've punted, I think, 3 times in a row to start the game, and they had 4 punts in the first quarter, which is very unlike them. I think they had 7 punts all year going into the game. So Jacksonville's defense, gives some credit to them. But that was another weird game, too, because there was a penalty on Buffalo on Jacksonville's first touchdown of the game. So they went for 2. It was 8-0, and then it was 11-0, and then it was 11-7. So, it was really weird scores in that game as well. But Jacksonville is able to edge them out. Travis Etienne had 2 rushing touchdowns of his own. Buffalo's defense is very, very injury-ridden at the moment. So they lose to Jacksonville in London. The Jets, they beat Denver in a double revenge game, the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game, as he is now the offensive coordinator of the Jets, going back to Denver, the team that he had so much trouble with last year, the team that is now coached by Sean Payton, who Sean Payton is publicly bashing Nathaniel Hackett. He goes back to Denver and beats him. Pretty good. It's got to feel good for him. And Breece Hall had an amazing day on the ground yesterday in Denver. And that's got to feel amazing for him because last season, Breece Hall tore his ACL in Denver on that very same field. So that's got to feel good for both of those guys on the New York Jets as they beat Denver in Denver. And the New England Patriots got absolutely obliterated by the New Orleans Saints. And that's 2 weeks in a row. Last week, they lost 38-3, a 35-point loss. And this week, they lose 34-0. 2 of the worst losses in the history of the Bill Belichick era come back-to-back. And it's not got to be fun over there in New England. The film session today is probably absolutely miserable. And I can't even imagine. To be honest, I can't even imagine what Bill is saying when he watches the film in that game. But it's about time that the Patriots weren't the best team of all time, right? It's been so long. It's about time that they have a little bit of struggles. So I would say I feel bad, but come on. I'm a Raiders fan. I've been in the depths for 20 years. Move on to the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles continue their unbeaten streak as they go to 5-0 now. They beat the Los Angeles Rams in SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. That was a pretty good game. Cooper Kupp made his debut. He had a pretty good day, but the Philadelphia Eagles were able to hold them off. They scored another touchdown on the infamous brotherly shove, named after the city of brotherly love, obviously, to end the first half, because that's what they do. You can't stop it. The Dallas Cowboys got smoked on Sunday Night Football by the San Francisco 49ers. Smoked. 42-10 smoked. Lose by 30 smoked. Dak looked terrible. The defense did not have any answers for all those weapons that San Francisco had. So, Dallas hasn't really played anybody. They've played Arizona, who they lost to, mind you. They've played both New York teams, who are arguably 2 of the worst offenses in football right now. So, are the Cowboys frauds again? Are they frauds again? I don't know. We'll see. But They played a good team for, I think, the first time this year, and it did not go well for them. San Francisco took care of them very handedly. 3 touchdowns for George Kittle. The Commanders, they lost to Chicago on Thursday night. Commanders are a weird team. Sam Howell's looked pretty good, but their defense, which is supposed to be their strong suit, hasn't. Justin Fields had another great day. He threw for another 4 touchdowns again. I believe he had 300 passing yards again. So he's turned it around too. DJ Moore had 3 touchdowns, 49 fantasy points, and he wasn't even wide receiver 1 this week because we'll get to it. Jamar Chase had 3 touchdowns. The Giants, just talked about them. They lost to Miami. They don't look good. It's tough, and Daniel Jones just got hurt. So that's what's going to happen if you get your quarterback hit at least 8 times a game. He's going to get hurt, and he's got a neck injury, which is not what you want to see. The AFC North, we talked about them. The game of the week came from the 2 teams at the top of this division. Right now, sitting atop because they have 2 huge division wins that I touched on before. One against the Browns, and then Sunday against Baltimore, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat Baltimore 17-10 and are able to take the lead in the AFC North. Baltimore sits right below them. They just got passed by Pittsburgh. The Browns had a bye, so they're sitting in 3rd. And the Bengals actually, they looked all right. The first half was shaky. They were playing a good game with the Cardinals, which is like, what are we doing? Then Jamar Chase kind of started going nuts. He ended up having a 3-touchdown game. I don't know how many receiving yards he had, probably about 150, maybe more. But he ended up having 52 fantasy points. So like I said, DJ Moore had 49, 3 touchdowns, and he was not this week's top scorer in fantasy because Jamar Chase matched him with the 3 touchdowns and had a couple more yards. Because Jamar Chase, like he says, he's always open. And I guess he's right. You can't really say anything about that now. I guess he is always open. NFC North, the Detroit Lions looked very impressive in a blowout win. Who'd they play? Oh, the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 0-5, so maybe not the best test for them, but nevertheless, they handily took down a team that they should have took down pretty easily and send the Panthers to 0-5. The Green Bay Packers tonight in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium against the boys. See what happens. Jimmy G's coming back. Devontae needs to play. If Devontae's not playing, we're screwed. I think Devontae and Jair Alexander is also questionable too. So something I've been looking forward to for about a week now. Devontae Adams versus Jair Alexander. Both guys questionable coming into the matchup, but I think it will be a very interesting matchup. 2 former teammates. They definitely went up against each other a ton in practice. So it'll be interesting to see that happen in a real game. The Chicago Bears, like I said, they beat Washington on Thursday night. This offense kind of has came alive over the past 2 weeks. Justin Fields looks like Justin Fields at the end of last year. DJ Moore looks like the receiver they got him to be. So let's see if they can continue this offense that they have over the past couple weeks. But last week in Denver, and honestly, a little bit better this week, but the defense, which I thought was going to be solid because they have a defensive coach, is not. And probably the biggest surprise of the season so far, the Minnesota Vikings sitting at 1-4 in last place in the NFC North. Did not see this one coming. They just lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty controversial game, to be honest. We all saw what happened Monday night with the Jets and the Chiefs with that phantom holding call. They threw the flag after Mahomes threw a pick. A couple things that were pointed out online. They missed a holding call on Mahomes' 20-yard run, and that's just middle of stuff like that. And then on 4th down for the Vikings, there's a legal hands to the face by a Chiefs defensive lineman. They call a pass interference that would have set up the Vikings on the 5-yard line or even closer. But no, of course, they pick it up. They pick up the flag. No pass interference because it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And as the refs are talking about, we should probably pick this off, right, because it's the Chiefs, the corner, I believe it was Jadarius Sneed, comes over, and he took his helmet off on the field, and he's arguing with the refs. That's a penalty too. So 3 penalties on the Kansas City Chiefs, all in one play. None were called. Turnover on downs for Minnesota, game over. So 2 weeks in a row, controversy endings for the Kansas City Chiefs. This time hurting the Minnesota Vikings and putting them in a very bad spot at the bottom of the NFC North. So I'm not going to go on that too much, but I just feel like it's crazy. I think you should really pay attention to the way that the games that the Kansas City Chiefs are in end. Maybe the Super Bowl last year, if I can refresh your memory. What happened there? Phantom hold. How about yesterday? I want you to line up the call that they made in the Super Bowl to the call that they picked up on Sunday in Minnesota. Just be consistent. That's all I ask for. Okay. We'll go to the AFC South because I can't keep talking about that. I'll freak out. The Jacksonville Jaguars. As I said, they beat the Buffalo Bills in London. They're 2-0. They stayed in London for 2 weeks in a row. They played the Atlanta Falcons in the first week, and then they play the Buffalo Bills this week, and they win both their games in Buffalo. Win both their games in London to make them 3-2 on the season, turn their season around, look like to be atop the AFC South now. Maybe this will put them on the right track. The Indianapolis Colts, they beat Tennessee, but yet again, Anthony Richardson goes down with an injury. This one did not look good. It looked like a throwing shoulder injury. Good thing they have x-rays were negative, so no collarbone, none of that. But he was in a lot of pain, had to leave the game, was unable to return. But you know what that means. Minshew time. Gardner Minshew comes in off the bench, and like he does seemingly every time he comes off the bench, he leads his offense to a win and has a good game for himself. Like Gardner Minshew is maybe the most clutch backup in the league that I can remember. Maybe besides Ryan Fitzpatrick. But like Gardner Minshew, been good. The Houston Texans, they lost late to Atlanta on a last-second field goal. C.J. Stroud looked pretty good yet again. No picks. He set the NFL record for the most pass attempts to start a career without throwing an interception. So pretty impressive stuff from C.J. Stroud. He's been by far the best rookie quarterback. And, I mean, the Houston Texans have looked pretty good. They were in that game until the very end. He led a drive to score a touchdown to go up with not a lot of time left in this game. But I'll get into it a little bit more. Desmond Ridder led a great comeback drive to win the game at the end. But rounding out this division, the Tennessee Titans, they lost to Indianapolis. They do not look good. Ryan Tannehill does not look good. And, I mean, D-Hop just finally had his best game as a Tennessee Titan. Had 100 yards. But they're going to have to get something figured out because they do not look good. Their offense is stagnant. Their defense can't really stop anyone. And they're gonna have to figure that out soon. The NFC South, the team sitting atop the NFC South right now is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a bye this week, but we'll get back on them next week. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, they've looked pretty good. We'll see if Chris Godwin can continue the way he did last week because that was his really first good week of the season. First 3 weeks, not too great. Last week, pretty good. We'll see what happens in week 6. The Atlanta Falcons, we'll finally get to them. They played a good game against Houston, and they beat them on a last-second Younghoe Koo field goal, like I've touched on. But this game was kind of scrappy, kind of throughout the whole way. But, like I said, C.J. Stroud led the Texans down to score a touchdown. I believe there was 1:15 left. Not a lot of time. Given Atlanta had 3 timeouts. But they came onto the field, and it was just Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Like, bam, bam, boom, boom, boom. Great plays, great throws, great decisions by Desmond Ridder. Found Drake London 3 to 4 times on this drive. And I don't know if they had an incompletion. They got all the way into field goal range like that. And they didn't even call a single timeout because you were just sideline pass, hurry up, let's go. Very, very impressive drive by Desmond Ridder. To be honest, I haven't been so impressed by him overall, but that showed me a lot, to be honest. Let him right down the field into Younghoe Koo's field goal range. They even kneeled a couple times to set up the field goal better. He drilled it as time expired. They get the win. And honestly, that was an amazing, impressive drive. Shout out to Desmond Ridder. If he does that all the time, they're going to be good. The New Orleans Saints, they destroyed the New England Patriots in New England, given you. I mean, jeez. I mean, the Patriots are just, they can't do anything on offense. It's bad. It's bad. Derek Carr looked okay. He still has that AC joint sprain, so not great, but hopefully he'll be able to continue to get healthy. And, I mean, even though he wasn't completely healthy, they didn't even play that great of a game on offense, and they won 34-0. So that's got to tell you something. And to round it out, the Carolina Panthers, they lost to Detroit. They have not looked very good. Bryce Young has been all right. You know, he was banged up last week. Maybe he's not 100% healthy, but they are 0-5 now. Are they the only 0-5 team in football? I think they are. Let me make sure that's true. Are they the only 0-5 team in football? They're the only 0-5 team in football. The Carolina Panthers. That's tough. That's tough. So hopefully we'll see what happens. Bryce Young can maybe get a win, but it's not been good so far. Jumping to the AFC West, The Kansas City Chiefs, talked about that a little bit already. Not going to go much into that. They beat the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Travis Kelce actually rolled his ankle in that game. He came out for a little bit. He looked very upset on the sideline. Looked like it might have been a bad injury, but he came right back in the game and did exactly what he normally does. Ended up scoring a touchdown because Travis Kelce's Travis Kelce. That's what he does. The Los Angeles Chargers, they're on a bye this week, so they're sitting in second place still. Las Vegas Raiders, we're playing tonight, Monday Night Football in Vegas against the Green Bay Packers. Like I said, you had to bring out the Charles Woodson jersey for the Raiders-Packers game. Of course, he better be lighting the torch. He really better be there. I don't know why he wouldn't be. Charles Seawood, I hope to see you tonight. Better be there. And the Broncos, they lost to the Jets. Talk about that. Sean Payton was talking so much over the offseason about how bad Nathaniel Hackett was at doing his job last year. Now, they're 1-4. He just lost to Nathaniel Hackett at home. So I wonder how Sean Payton feels this year. He's 1-4. They're 1-4. He has a 70-point given up loss. They lost by 50, and then he lost to Nathaniel Hackett, who he's been trashing all year. So I wonder how he feels waking up on a Monday morning today. Jumping over to the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers. They're so good. Like I said, they beat the hell out of the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Really beat the hell out of them. George Kittle had 3 touchdowns. And I believe he only had 3 receptions. 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns, because why else catch anything else? McCaffrey had another touchdown. Didn't have as much of a McCaffrey game as we're used to, because last week, he had 4 TDs. This week, he only had 1. He actually fumbled, but of course, he scored. He does not score. And I don't think they've lost a regular season game since he's been on the team. So he's been a spark plug for them, obviously. They're just so good. They have so many weapons. The Seattle Seahawks are sitting in second place here. They had a bye this week. The Los Angeles Rams lost to the Philadelphia Phillies. That was a pretty contested game by them, honestly. I was impressed by them, but they lost. The Arizona Cardinals lost to Cincinnati. That was honestly a decent game for a half and a quarter, like 2.5 quarters into the third. Then Cincinnati was able to pull away. They kind of looked like the offense that we looked like. Joe Burrow looked much, much healthier. That's a good sign. Good sign for Bengals fans, fantasy owners. So maybe the Bengals are ready to put things on the right track. Maybe all they needed was to play like an Arizona Cardinals or some team like that to get themselves back on track. But only time will tell. We'll see next week. But with one more game left to go, and it's the Raiders, we'll check back later. And hopefully the Raiders catch a dub. We'll see what happens. Peace out. We'll see you after the game. All right, so now Monday night has concluded, and that it'll wrap up the full slate of games for Week 5 of the NFL season. And Monday night wraps up with a Raiders dub. Big win for the Raiders. Hype for us. Let's go. And I'm kind of shocked that they didn't have Charles Woodson come and light the torch for the Raiders-Packers game. But obviously they had like the planned Stanley Cup was coming for the game. But not a very pretty game. Both sides of the ball. Both offenses struggled. Jimmy G threw a pretty bad pick there. Offense didn't really do anything. The Raiders' offensive line cannot run block for anything for their lives. But the Raiders' defense looked much better than it has in a very long time, to be honest. I can't remember a time in my lifetime where I've seen the Raiders have 3 picks in a game. So that was pretty impressive. Max Crosby is an absolute monster. He's all over the field on every single play of the entire game. The guy's motor is just, he never stops. He will never give up on anything. He's in on every play, going 100,000%. He had a bunch of QB pressures. He had a sack. He's got 5 sacks on the year. He also has more QB pressures than Nick Bosa and Michael Parsons in the last 2 years, I believe. That was the stat that they showed. It was impressive from the Raiders defense because Max Crosby was able to get that pressure, forcing bad throws, and really led to those 3 interceptions. So a lot of good stuff there. Didn't go for it on 4th and 1 at the end, but that was a tough call. I actually didn't hate the call. They were saying that it was, analytics were saying to go for it, but our offense hadn't been great, and what are we going to do? We're probably going to run the ball there, and our run blocking is iffy. It's really a 50-50 shot there. So, I don't hate it. Carlson missed the field goal. He set the NFL record last year for field goals made of over 50 yards. Shocked that he missed that one, but he hit the right upright. Packers got a chance to score, but a big play by Amik Robertson to seal the deal, picks him off in the end zone, seals the Raiders win. Josh Jacobs came alive a little bit in this game, still kind of struggling. That run blocking has just been terrible, but Raiders get a much, much needed win after losing 3 in a row after taking the season opener in Denver, so they move to 2-3. Still sitting in third place in that AFC West. The Packers fall to 2-3 now. Both teams have an identical record, but the Raiders have a pretty easy schedule. Part of their schedule coming up. They play New England next week, who haven't looked great. Need to capitalize on that. Who else is it? Then they play the Bears, who, I mean, their offenses look better, so that could be concerning. Mobile quarterbacks are the kryptonite of the Oakland Raiders. Ooh, sorry, Las Vegas, but Oakland Raiders, you know what I'm saying. At heart, they're the Oakland Raiders. One more thing. Let's talk about the crowd. Like every week at the new Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, outcrowded by the away fans. But, I mean, that's what you get when you got a historic fan base like the Packers coming on Monday night prime time. It's just going to happen all the time. It's insane. So that's terrible to watch. But Raiders get a win, move to 2-3. And that wraps up this Week 5 episode of the Valentine Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow all the accounts on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. Make sure to subscribe, like all the videos, turn on notifications, all that stuff. And if you need anything about Bobby Valentine Sports Academy, look up the bvacademy.com for everything that you need to know there. And thank you for another good week. Peace out.